Hey, welcome back to Seb Show. Welcome back to the Sebastian Scales Show. Still not sure which one sounds better, but welcome back. I feel like as I get older, particularly in the past year, I've started to believe that things happen for a reason. And I didn't used to believe that. And while I don't know for sure if that's true, it's definitely up to us to decide. Our experiences are so much just like a matter of our perception of them. And it's a lot more exciting for me to go through life and assume that there's significance and meaning behind the events that happen to me and how I respond to them. And rather than just sort of treating this whole universe as this dumb thing that's just like, this is what it is. It's just a rock floating through space, a big dumb rock. I am perceiving it more as a rock out of which everything grew and out of which intelligence was born. Our perception of intelligence, our brains and what we think of as intelligence wouldn't be here had it not been for this big dumb rock. So intelligence can't exist without rocks. So it feels like it's more fun to go through life recognizing that every single experience is an absolute miracle. Existence, every moment is insane that it's happening. And it feels like children feel this way. When you come into the world, when we look at kids, they view the world with just absolute wonder and excitement, and they're just like they're so like just then I just looked at my screen and it'd been recording for 2 minutes and 22 seconds, and I don't know if it's just because now I'm thinking this way that like, oh, that's the universal confirmation that you're doing the right thing. I don't know. Who knows, but it feels good to feel that way. And maybe it's not right or wrong, and it's just up to us to decide, like, how do we want to perceive these experiences and these quote-unquote signs from the universe. It seems like if our intelligence can exist, there must have been intelligence that was a precursor to our intelligence. And maybe rocks aren't intelligent in the way that we think of ourselves as being intelligent, but there are bigger things happening here than a lot of us take note of, and that any of us probably can even understand. But it's more fun to view the world and the universe in that way. And it seems like kids just look at everything and they're just like, wow, this is crazy. Kids are just looking around wide-eyed at the most mundane things. And you can give a kid a handful of sand and they'll be entertained for hours. And most adults would find that to be horrifically boring, to just stare at sand. But kids, even without concepts and words, are entertained by the world. And we're all born like that. We're all born with this innate sense of curiosity and wonder and appreciation, I guess, of what is. Maybe it's just because we just got here at that point, and we have no outside influences or ways of comprehending the world with language that maybe that causes us to actually, obviously language is incredibly beneficial, but it also allows us to be introduced to concepts that make us feel insignificant, and that it's not crazy that we're here, that existence is just normal. It just is. It just is. Gotta go to work. Like, we just got here. In terms of time and like how long things have existed for, we have been here for none of it. And we just get here out of nowhere. No idea where our consciousness comes from. It just shows up out of nowhere and inhabits our body. And then we're just here for a little while and then we leave. And so many of us choose to view that as insignificant and not miraculous. So anyway, as I've gotten older, it feels like it's more fun to slip back into that mindset. To remember how crazy it is that we exist at all, and to feel to feel what it means to exist physically and mentally, emotionally, all the ways that you can feel. And when you tap into that more, just a general appreciation of existence, more things show up that make you even more appreciative. And maybe that's just confirmation bias, because if I'm appreciative of my warm jacket that I'm wearing, then all of a sudden it's really easy to appreciate things that make you feel good. And so then all of a sudden there's all these things that you weren't really noticing before because you were in your head thinking about other things, generally negative things. It's hard to be negative when you're appreciative. So if you're constantly thinking about things that cause you to appreciate existing, it's a lot easier to stay in a positive mindset. And maybe that's why babies seem so happy. Obviously not all the time, but you rarely see adults looking around just like, whoa, unless they're on mushrooms, in which case everything is amazing. Wherever you are in the moment that you're on mushrooms is instantly the most interesting place you've ever been. That's kind of how mushrooms feel. Is it feels like they put you back into that childlike mindset. But I wonder why, what causes us to lose sight of that awe of the world. We get told what's important. We get told what it means to be successful. And we get introduced to the feelings associated with quote unquote success. How it feels when people congratulate you for doing well on a test or for getting into a college that is respected, which is obviously completely arbitrary. We get told things by our parents, and we see how they react to us doing well, and how it feels like we, when we're in school, take on this burden of like almost like our family name. Like I remember being in high school and thinking that if I did poorly on a test, that people were going to think that my parents were dumb. Feeling like I needed to represent my family in math. For some reason, I fucked up this algebra test, so people now think that my family are not worthy. Don't know how I got to that point. And then, of course, also feeling just dumb myself and feeling like people thought less of me if I didn't score highly. Maybe it's the competitive nature of how we're brought up. And instead of recognizing how amazing it is to all be here, it's like, I need to be here better than you. Because from the moment we're in school, we're at odds with everyone else. We're competing and we're getting rankings, and our parents get told, oh, your kid's not doing as good, or they're doing better than other kids. And then that creates egoic attachment. And then it's like, oh, my kid's smart. And then if your kid goes in a different direction, and doesn't mean they're any less smart, but they might be interested in pursuing things outside of academics. But in our current education system, that means you're a bad kid and you're straying away from the path that is optimal for you. We think we figured out the right way to raise kids, but I was never taught anything about mindfulness in my education. Seems like that should be one of the first things that people are taught, children are taught, is how to be mindful, how to meditate. Imagine if if we exposed the children of our species to meditation early on, what that would do for like anxiety throughout life. I look back on a lot of the education that I received and the classes that I took, and a lot of it seems not quite right. But it all brought me to the point where I'm at now, so in the same way that I like to view everything as having a purpose, I guess it is purposeful. But anyway, it's more fun to live life like this because things start happening, good things will happen, and you'll be like, oh, of course, like, oh, there you are again, universe, you sneaky energy, you just inhabiting me and everyone else and everything around us. Don't think I don't see you, universe. I see you looking out for me, bringing me all these amazing things. And then even the negative things, perceivably negative things, what I perceive to be negative, even those things, when you're in this state of awe, it becomes more of what can I learn from this experience? Why am I going through this? And when you're coming from a sense of awe and a sense of wholeness and completeness, it feels like these negative experiences serve a purpose rather than just being a horrible thing that happened to you. I think about the molestation that I went through. And while it was impossible to see at the time the importance of it and the significant, why am I going through this? And I felt at the time that nobody else knew what I felt. Nobody knew what I was going through. And had I not been molested, I would have never done stand-up. I would have never, there's so much, my life trajectory would have been completely different. And maybe it would have been better to not be molested as a kid, of course. But I am thankful for the trajectory of my life that brought me to this moment right now. Because I'm happy here. I like it. I like existing right now. And you have the ability to view everything however you want. And having experienced the negative general viewing of existence and the positive of it's a no-brainer positive pick. So anyway, as I've been developing this mindset and trying to live my life more consciously and aware of the blessings that I have in my life that I, for many years, have been taking for granted. Just being able to eat food every day, good food, go to Trader Joe's and have a good time. Like, it's so easy to be appreciative when you start being conscious of it and thinking, like, every moment, like, fuck, I have it good. I have no problems in this moment. There's nothing I have to do other than just express myself to the camera, to you. And it feels good. And rather than worrying about what I need to do tomorrow or the next day or a year from now or all the things that I've done wrong in the past, it's a lot more fun to be here right now. So I'm now interpreting things constantly, and I feel like, the universal numbers that pop up, the repeating numbers, it feels like they are everywhere. And it feels good, and it's like, sometimes I don't even know what it means, but it just feels good. And maybe that's just the message. I was on a run today, and I saw 333 on it was just an address of a house, but it was the only address that I noticed the whole run. And I didn't see that and think, okay, well, now that's the answer I needed for it. I wasn't thinking anything. I was just listening to music, but it just felt good. It was like a little reminder, like, hey, you're existing, and that's pretty cool. Don't forget. It's like the universe just being like, hey, just remember how amazing this is. Anyway, sometimes I'll interpret what I think are universal signs, and I'll wonder, like, what does this mean? What is the universe trying to tell me right now? What am I trying to tell myself? And sometimes the answer is clear, sometimes it's not. But I had a funny experience with these. So I've been seeing this girl, and she owns a bunny. And I've never had interactions with bunnies before. I don't think in my life, other than just seeing them hop around. But this is a domesticated bunny that has a full-blown personality. And I've been hanging out with her, and this bunny will, be around us, and she'll basically explain and interpret his movements and what he's doing and how he's sending a message, and how basically everything he does is for attention. Like, we were just laying on the carpet with him. Her bunny's name is Winston, and it was me, her, and Winston. And I was petting him, and then I stopped for a second, and he like ran away and turned around and then started thumping his foot. And she was like, yeah, he's doing that because he's mad that you stopped petting him. And apparently bunnies thumping is like a really significant, it's like the ultimate fuck you from a bunny. And so I was like, wow, I see it now. I can see that he's staring at me while he's thumping his foot. And then she's like, watch, he's going to go do something for attention now. And so we just kind of watched him, and he hopped around the room, and eventually he got to her Roomba, and he hopped up on her Roomba, and she was like, watch, he's going to turn it on. And I was like, no way. And sure enough, this bunny turned on her Roomba and rode the Roomba around the room. And I was like, I was mesmerized that this bunny had figured out how to turn on this machine, how it created a vehicle for itself that it can operate. And she was like, yeah, he does this whenever I'm not giving him enough attention. So anyway, I've been having these hilarious interactions with this bunny. And so this girl is moving away, and I've really connected with her on a spiritual level that I haven't really connected with anyone before romantically, partly because I'm like, I guess, relatively new to spiritual existence. And we've already decided, like, hey, we don't want to do long distance. We've both done it before, and we know we don't want that. So we just decided that we're going to enjoy the time that we have together anyway. We're not going to try to drag it out. We're just going to let go and see what happens in the future. So anyway, she's leaving this weekend, and last week I was hanging out at her place, and she like went to sleep early. She like fell asleep, and I was still awake. And so I was just hanging out with her bunny and just petting him, having a good time with the bun. And the next day I woke up, and I was flying to Vegas to meet up with some college friends. And on the way, I woke up in the morning, petted the bunny some more, and went to go catch a flight. And in an Uber, I opened up my YouTube app, and I always listen to YouTube all the time. I listen to Alan Watts. For anybody who listens to Alan Watts, you'll know a lot of the things that I say are related to him, to what he says. And if you don't know him, check him out. Alan Watts, Terrence McKenna, Ram Dass. There's so many good speakers, but I'll listen to all these different people all the time. And the first video on my recommendation was a trailer for the new Matrix. And in that 2-minute trailer, they reference Alice in Wonderland. And for those of you that remember, there's a white rabbit in Alice in Wonderland that takes Alice down the rabbit hole and introduces her to this whole new world. And I just initially didn't think anything of it, other than just, oh, that's interesting. Like, Alice in Wonderland's cool, Oh, look, another bunny. And then it was like a 2-minute trailer, and I was stoked because I love The Matrix. Anyway, the next video that I clicked on was a video of Alan Watts talking, and he's got tens, probably hundreds of hours of material online. I swear I've listened to most of it. I'm stoked whenever I can find a video from Alan Watts that I haven't heard. But this lecture popped up on my next recommended video, and I clicked on it, and within the first 2 minutes, he referenced Alice in Wonderland. And he referenced it in the context of explaining Zen existence. he talks about how it's living in harmony with the moment rather than resistant to it, resisting what is. And he was describing translating Zen and how you really need no words to explain it because it's a feeling. It's a way of life. It's not something that needs translation. So he was saying that to describe Zen, you can use any book. You can use Alice in Wonderland, was the example that he used. Of any book in the world, he used Alice in Wonderland. Immediately after I had seen this Matrix trailer that talked about Alice in Wonderland, and needless to say, that was the moment where I was like, okay, that's 3 bunny experiences in the last hour, all referring to white rabbits. Winston is a white rabbit, a little bit gray, but white. And this is the point where I'm like, what's happening here? What's going on? It's a lot of bunnies. And so I'm texting this girl that I've been seeing, and obviously she's like, no way. I'm explaining all this to her. And I get on the flight, and I fell asleep. It was an early flight. I wake up, and we get off of the flight, and I'm in the Las Vegas airport, and I take the shuttle to the ground transportation, and I'm about to get ready to leave the airport, and this is what I see. I'll pull up a picture on the screen in case it doesn't work, but I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that? It's a giant rabbit. It's a giant white rabbit. And this happened after, we've been talking about this, and me and this girl are texting back and forth. We're like, what does it mean? What does it mean? And I wake up from, I don't remember what I dreamt about, but I wake up and there's a massive sculpture of a rabbit in my physical sight. I've been to Vegas before, multiple times, and I've never noticed this rabbit before. And maybe that's because I just wasn't aware, and it's always been there. I don't know. But it felt like 4 white rabbit references in 2.5 hours. You start to take notice. And I'm like, okay, what's happening here? What am I trying to be told? What is it? Because even though it feels good and it's fun to interpret these things and try to figure it out, what do I need to know here? What am I being told? What lesson do I need to know? What is it? What's the thing? And I didn't know what to do, but I FaceTimed this girl and showed her the rabbit, and she was like, what the fuck is going on? And so I looked up white rabbit significance, and it has a lot to do with entering a new chapter and abundance. And I think it is related to this podcast. I think it's related to how I've been feeling and to letting go of thought patterns that no longer serve me, to diminishing myself, to feeling unworthy, letting go of all of that. And coming into this new phase in life that is unwavering. It's definitive. It's not worrying about whether or not I made the right decision. It's making it and going with it and not looking back. And that existence feels so good. It feels so good to not worry and just to trust yourself to make the right decisions. To trust yourself and to trust the universe to just have your back like it always has. To trust others, to trust the timing of everything. To trust myself to respond in the moment as the moment presents itself and not as I've imagined it to be, and not as I've hypothesized what's going to happen. Just to fully trust my momentary intuition. To follow the feelings. And obviously what I wrote about white rabbits, or what I read about white rabbit signs, was just an article that was written by somebody, who knows if they're right or wrong. Maybe there is no right or wrong. I don't know. But in that moment, it felt good to feel what it felt like the significance of these rabbits were that kept hopping up in my existence. Anyway, I left the airport and got picked up by my friend, who's one of my best friends. He and I have talked about anxiety so much in our lives. He was one of the people that sort of introduced me to anxiety because he was experiencing it a lot in college and we lived together. And then he was there for my first anxiety attack when we were living in New York after college. And I'll get into that another day. Or maybe I should just get into it now. No, I'll wait. So anyway, he picked me up and I was just like on this bunny high, feeling good. And I tried to explain it to him. And so I told him about the references that I just mentioned and what had been happening. And he was like, whoa, like he got why I was excited and why I felt like it was significant. And he was like, this is where we differ, because he said that in his head, when something like that happens multiple times, you keep seeing references, what he thinks is, wow, that's highly unlikely. And he's a very like logic oriented, matter of fact kind of guy, which is awesome. But it's again up to interpretation, because he would see 4 White Rabbit references and think that that's a lot of bunnies. And in my head, I'm like, the universe is trying to communicate with me. and this means all of my life is changing. And I think he was like, yeah, I like to interpret it that way because it doesn't, things just are. And he felt like it's so up to interpretation that it couldn't possibly be right, however he would interpret it. So it's easier to just put it, chalk it up to that's unlikely. Which I have felt that way before. I've had that mindset, and it's, again, not wrong. Whatever you prefer is what's right. But I think it's more fun to exist with that sense of wonder. And we had a long chat about it, and he feels more like the rock is dumb, that the earth is dumb, and that there's things in existence that just happen, and that's just what it is. And it was fun to be able to talk with him about these things without feeling dumb about my ideas and without making him feel dumb about his ideas, because it felt like we both knew that neither of us know. It's just what we choose to believe. And it made for a really cool conversation. So even though there's no right or wrong way to interpret these things, I asked him, how the fuck could I possibly see this many rabbit references, and then to see that rabbit structure? How could that possibly be just a coincidence? I agree it's highly unlikely, but what's also highly unlikely is consciousness, human existence. There's so many things that are beyond the realm of probability. There's no amount of probability that could possibly encompass the likelihood of existing, of all of this, of the universe. It's bigger than numbers. But again, I don't know. So you might be right. But it made me value his friendship in that moment, because he also didn't make me feel silly for feeling this way, which I think a lot of people do. I've felt the way that he has felt before, and I think I have in the past been dismissive of people that feel this way. And it feels almost like it feels like people that act like this are silly, and that you're not being objective. There's no universe trying to communicate with you. There aren't higher beings that are trying to push you in the right direction or make you realize things. It's just there's just us. We're just here and then we're gone. And it's not right or wrong. It's just what you want to believe. And I think it's more fun to believe that there's more going on here than we can figure out. So it ended up being a great weekend in Vegas. We didn't even really go out in Vegas. We were just staying at his parents' place in Lake Las Vegas. So we just hung out with a bunch of dudes and kicked it and played Mario Kart. We're 26. All of the dudes that were there, we're all 26. And we're still doing the things that we liked to do when we were 10. Which makes me wonder if maybe there is some validity to what I'm saying. Not that I didn't think there was validity before, but we're spending the time that we have on Earth doing the things that we enjoyed doing when we were kids. That's what we like to do with our free time, is play. We like to play things, games, sports. When we have nothing to do, when we can do anything, what we decide to do is play. So clearly, whether or not whatever you believe, we all value playing. Different things, but we like to play, which is a kid-like existence. Kids play, but they don't need all of these things that adults need. They don't need drinking or drugs or anything. They just play with sand. So maybe that's what this is. This way of existing makes me feel like a kid again. And it makes me feel excited and optimistic about every moment that's going to come, whatever's going to happen in the future. I can't wait. It's not something that I need to have happen right now because I'm enjoying this moment. But I know that whatever comes in the future will be cool too. And even the worst things that happen have significance. And it's up to our interpretation. So this has been an episode that I've really enjoyed because I haven't been thinking about what I'm thinking in terms of how it'll be perceived. A little bit, sure, but less so. Just putting it out there because it feels good. Maybe that's the point of the rabbits. Oh, and then fucking, I listened to this video today. Like, that happened last Thursday. It's now Monday, and I'm still seeing these rabbit references. I listened to a Terrence McKenna video today, and he was talking about DMT, and I haven't done DMT, but I like listening to people who have done it. And he was talking about how, like, when around the ages of like 7 to 12, we start having experiences that cause us to ridicule the way that we've been feeling. Belief systems that we've had. Like when you're 7, around that age, you believe in Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny is what he was referring to. And as you get older, you're taught to think that that is naive to believe in those things, to believe in magic, to believe in the goals and dreams that you have as a kid. You're taught to suppress that and to be objective and to think realistically and to get a job that is safe and will pay your bills, and so that you can retire, so that you can finally have the freedom to do the things that you wanted to do your whole life but you couldn't do because you needed to pay the bills and you needed to save up enough and all this stuff. And he referenced the Easter Bunny as one of the beliefs that we give up first as a kid. And instead of appreciating the feelings that the Easter Bunny gave us, we're taught to almost criticize people that believe in the Easter Bunny and ourselves for believing it. How could we believe something so dumb? Well, because it was fun. Because it felt good. And maybe when we're growing up, we don't have to kill that part of ourselves as aggressively as it feels like we do these days. And maybe this childlike innocence or awe can be integrated into adulthood in a way that causes us to appreciate things more. I don't know. But it feels good. So I'm going to keep doing it. I'll keep you posted. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.